With me now is retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel James Carafano. Colonel, it's great to have you on. Okay, first your reaction to the president firing the Pentagon chief. Your reaction to that, and then I want to ask you, do you think, the separate story, do you think the president will pardon General Michael Flynn? Take on the Pentagon chief first.
Well, I thought Mark Esper did a good job. The president signaled he was going to make a bunch of changes in his second term. He had a lot of people that really helped him in the first term agenda. And I think he still hopes that the election will go his way, and he wants to move out with the second term. I think that's all there is there.
Is he going to pardon General Flynn?
Look, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Here's what I do know. I've known Mike Flynn many, many years in our military service and careers and after. He's an incredibly honorable man. I think he's a great patriot. I think anybody would agree that there were just publicly known a lot of irregularities in the investigation, the prosecution. You know, we let the Chicago 7 go because the government prosecutors and the investigators didn't do their job. In the 70s, we let the American Indian movement go at Wounded Knee because the government and the prosecutors didn't do their job. That certainly seems like the case here. This man has been ill-treated by his government.
Okay, next case, Iran. They're calling on the U.S. to return to the nuclear deal. The Trump administration is planning to hit Iran with a new flood of sanctions. Your reaction to this story? Yeah,
so there's kind of two data points I think people really need to wrap their heads around. The one is it's easy to say, let's just go back to the Iran deal, regardless of who's president next month. But it's hard. How are you going to do that in practice? Are you really going to let them out of the arms embargo? Are you really going to flood them with cash? What are you going to do about all the cheating that they did? And the other data point is, look, both campaigns said what we need is a stronger deal, stronger proliferation measures, stronger guarantees about the ballistic missile program, less meddling in the region. I think who's ever president in January, they're going to want that. And the sanctions give the U.S. more leverage, and we'd be idiots if we didn't use that leverage to bring Iran to heel. It would be a catastrophe of foreign policy.
Interesting, because the Trump sanctions would be over Iran's ballistic missiles, human rights violations, and Iran still supporting terror activities. You're saying they're leverage and they work. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. This is the weakest Iran has ever been in the region. All of its surrogates are under pressure. Countries are lining up with Israel against Iran. It's the weakest their military has ever been. This is the most pressure they've ever been under. And actually, if you listen to both campaigns, they said the same thing. What we need is a better deal. Well, if you want a better deal, the only way you're going to get with the regime in Iran is to use the intense pressure we have now through this maximum campaign to force them to the table to do a decent deal. And I actually think the Europeans will sign up behind that. You know, President Trump was very, very close to getting the Europeans to go back to the table to go for a better deal. It didn't come together, but I think that they know that they have to do that. They know that we have to get a better deal, and I think regardless of who's president in January, I think they're going to come to the table. They have to and work with us, because otherwise we're just starting over again, and that's the last thing we want to do in the Middle East.
I hear what you're saying. All right, let's move on to this. There's talk that President Obama's former ambassador to the United Nations and former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, she's being touted as a likely early favorite for Secretary of State in an incoming Biden administration. What do you think of that choice?
Look, I'm not going to comment on anybody that hasn't even been nominated yet, but here's what I will say. Look, Obama's 8 years of foreign policy, this isn't political. They were bad. They weren't good for great politicians. They didn't deal with China. They didn't deal with Russia. They didn't deal with Iran. Whether you like this president or not, the last 4 years we made tremendous progress in every part of the world. And to go away for that would be a bad idea. So to go back to anything that looks like the Obama policies, that is a reversal of America's interests for sure.
All right, Colonel James Carafano, thanks for joining us, and thanks for your service to our country. It's good to see you.
Thank you, my friend.